The Grotto of Salt and Screams. A marine archaeologist is suffering from an unquenchable, supernatural thirst after a doomed expedition. He discovers a mysterious underwater grotto, ignoring dire warnings from local. Incident. Entering the grotto, they find a cavern of living salt and Roman skeletons. The grotto's malevolent entity, the thirst, manifests, destroying their fresh water and attacking their divlia. A big escape attempt as the salt cavern actively tries to entomb them, resulting in Marco's horrific death. The survivors return to the surface, physically unharmed, but spiritually infected. Victor's condition worsens, revealing that the curse is a contagious metaphysical dehydration that is slowly consuming him. The Grotto of Salt and Screams. They say the human body is over 60% water. I believe it now because I can feel every single molecule of it trying to escape. It's been 37 days since we dove into that cursed fissure in the Sicilian seabed, and in that Timaha, I have not known a single moment without thirst. Not the simple need for a drink, but a deep, cellular, metaphysical drought. It's a vacuum in my soul. My name is Dr. Aris Thorne, a marine archaeologist, and I have been infected by a 2,000-year-old thirst. I am a living desert, and the horror we unleashed from that salt-crusted tomb is slowly, patiently, desiccating me from the inside out. The research vessel Siren's Call cut through the impossibly blue waters of the Mediterranean. The mood was electric. Our long-range sonar had painted a picture of a geological marvel, a perfectly sealed underwater grotto off the coast of Sicily, its entrance hidden at the base of a sheer volcanic cliff. The data suggested an air pocket, a time capsule from the classical era. My colleague, the brilliant and relentlessly pragmatic historian Dr. Elena Conti, was already theorizing about a hidden Roman port or a ship's treasure vault. Our first warning came not from our instruments, but from the sea itself. We hired a local fisherman, an old salt named Giuseppe with a face like a weathered nautical chart, to guide us to the general area. When we showed him the precise coordinates on our screen, the color drained from his sun-browned face. He made the sign of the cross, his gnarled fingers trembling against his chest. "A bocca di sete," he whispered, the words sounding like a curse. "The thirsty mouth. You cannot go there." He told us a story passed down through generations. In the time of the Emperor Tiberius, a century of Roman soldiers accused of treason was sealed inside a sea cave as punishment. They were given no food and, crucially, no fresh water, only the endless, undrinkable sea surrounding them. "They did not just die," Giuseppe said, his eyes wide with superstitious fear. "They went mad with a thirst so profound their very souls curdled. Their spirits became a poison, a sect that does not end. It waits down there. It hungers. It spreads." We thanked him for his time, paid him handsomely, and dismissed his tale as a poignant, if macabre, piece of local folklore. We were scientists. We dealt in carbon dating and ceramic typology, not in ghosts. It was spectacular. The sunlight filtered down in shimmering pillars, illuminating dancing clouds of silver fish. We found the entrance exactly where the sonar predicted, a narrow vertical fissure in the black rock, like a wound. It was fringed with long, bleached strands of seaweed that pulsed in the current, looking unnervingly like the hair of a corpse. One by one, we squeezed through the tight passage. Emerging on the other side, we were met with a sight that defied all logic. We were in a colossal cavern, but it was not carved from rock. It was a geode of monstrous proportions, its entirety composed of pure, white salt. Massive crystals, some as long as a man, jutted from every surface in sharp, jagged formations. Our dive lights, usually swallowed by the ocean's gloom, were refracted and amplified, bouncing off a billion crystalline facets in a blinding, disorienting kaleidoscope of light. It was terrifyingly beautiful. The air in the pocket was thick, heavy, and stale, carrying a sharp metallic taste that coated the tongue and the back of the throat, the taste of desiccation, of an ancient ocean evaporated to nothing. In the center of the cavern lay a pool of water so profoundly black and still, it seemed to be a hole punched through reality itself, absorbing all light and hope. Elena, who found them. Scattered across the salt floor were skeletons, perhaps 24. They were still clad in the corroded remnants of Roman lorica segmentata armor. Their final poses were a frozen ballet of agony. One was curled futilely around a crumbled, empty water skin. Another had its fingers worn to nubs, clawed into the salt floor in a desperate, futile search for moisture. Giuseppe's story was true. A profound unease settled over our team. That's when I saw it. A tiny needle-like salt crystal on the wall near my hand. I watched, mesmerized and horrified, as it visibly grew, lengthening by a full millimeter with an almost imperceptible tink. The grotto was not a static tomb. It was alive. Whispering began. It wasn't a sound that traveled through the air to our ears. It was a vibration that came up through the soles of our dive boots, a subaudible hum that resonated in the marrow of our bones and resolved directly into a single grinding word in the mind. Sete, sete, thirst, thirst. Cold and sharp began to prickle at the edges of my consciousness. Our dive leader, Marco, a bear of a man with unshakable nerves, was checking our emergency gear. He let out a sharp curse over the comms. Our backup freshwater canisters, our lifeline in an emergency, had been breached. The thick plastic was slashed open in multiple places, not torn or cracked, but sliced clean through, as if by a monomolecular blade. The precious water had drained out, leaving only damp patches on the salt that were already vanishing, sucked away by the greedy air. It was no accident. That's when Marco broke. He ripped his regulator from his mouth, a cardinal sin we all knew could be instantly fatal. His eyes, visible behind his mask, were wide, the whites shot through with red veins of pure terror. He clawed at his own throat, his body convulsing with dry, racking heaves. "It's in my lungs," he gasped, his voice a sandpaper rasp that crackled over the comms. "By God, it's so dry. It's burning me from the inside." Before any of us could react, he stumbled towards the center of the cavern and plunged his face into the black, stagnant pool. He gulped down the poisonous, hyper-saline brine in great, desperate swallows. His body immediately rebelled. He vomited violently, a convulsive eruption, but the madness had him. He was trapped in a horrific feedback loop of screaming, drinking, and vomiting, his body fighting a war against itself while his mind had already surrendered to the thirst. In the cavern seemed to change. It grew thicker, pulling the moisture from our skin, our eyes, our mouths. I could feel my lips cracking, my tongue swelling, becoming a useless lump of leather in my mouth. The salt under the walls began to visibly creep towards us, a glittering, crystalline frost expanding with a sound like a million locusts chewing on stone. "Get to the fissure, now!" Elena screamed over the comms. We grabbed Marco, who was now in the throes of violent seizures, and dragged him towards the exit. The fissure was narrower, the salt had grown, constricting the passageway. The crystals were sharp as surgical steel, tearing at our wetsuits and scoring our skin. We were bleeding, but the blood was thick and slow. We squeezed through one by one, a frantic, terrified procession. Marco, in his convulsions, got stuck. We pulled, but it was useless. The salt was growing over his legs, fusing him to the cavern floor. It crawled up his torso, a rapidly hardening crust. His last screams were not of pain, but of an all-consuming, insane, insatiable need. The salt filled his mouth, his nostrils, his eyes, silencing him forever, encasing him in a glittering white sarcophagus. He became just another permanent fixture of the grotto, a modern addition to its collection of the damned. We didn't look back. We kicked for the surface, our bodies screaming for oxygen and our souls screaming for water. The infection. We escaped the water. We returned to the siren's call. Physically, we were safe, but the thirsty mouth had latched onto us. It's been over a month now. The doctors can find nothing wrong with me. My electrolytes are fine. My kidneys are functioning. Yet I am dying. I drink gallons of water a day, but it passes through me like I'm a sieve, doing nothing to slake the profound hollow ache in my core. My skin is cracked and flaking, like parchment. My throat is a raw desert canyon. I can barely speak above a whisper. But the physical symptoms are nothing compared to the psychological torment. The whisper is always there, a constant grinding mantra in the back of my skull. Sete, sete. It's louder when I'm near water. The sound of a tap running is a symphony of torture. I had to move out of my apartment because the sound of my neighbor's shower through the wall drove me to the brink of smashing the pipes with a hammer. I know what is happening. The entity in that grotto, the conglomerate, tormented soul of those maddened Roman soldiers, is not a ghost. It is a condition, a metaphysical disease, a sentient thirst. It doesn't just kill you, it replaces you. It overwrites your fundamental biological need with its own eternal, cursed craving. Marco was its victim. I am its host, and I know with a certainty that is more real to me than the keyboard I am typing on that this will not end with me wasting away in a hospital bed. The thirst is growing stronger, smarter. It is learning how to use me. Soon, the compulsion will be too great. I will be driven, just as Marco was, to find the nearest large body of water, a lake, a river, the sea, and in a final, desperate, insane attempt to quench the unquenchable, I will plunge my face in and drink until my body ruptures. It is my inevitable, horrifying future. The thirsty mouth did not stay in that grotto. It followed me home, and now it is using my body as its new vessel. I am a bocca di sete, and I am so very, very